What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Blazers Uprise Live. Hopefully, I'm popping up on my phone screen right now. There we go. All right, so just had to sort out this new channel, some of the problems I was having, because I had to switch over the account or whatever for my streaming software. But here we are. We're on your screen. That means that was a success. So welcome into the first stream on this new channel. I need to stop playing with my mic. That is something that I realized when I dropped the mailbag. I was playing with my mic too much. In the previous stream, I know people were talking about it. I need to stop playing with my mic stand, but it's all right there, and it's so easy to play with. Anyway, how are you guys doing? Welcome into what's going to be a chill stream. Probably going to stream for an hour, but for the most part, we're just going to answer your questions about mock off-season free agency since we're about to pivot into that. And we're just going to run this show. Basically, you guys are going to run this show. We're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. We're going to let you guys have a big say in how this thing goes.
Hey, can you post the Discord thing for Darren Crivet?
Darren Crivet wants the Discord. I got you.
We have a Discord page, Darren, where we've been chatting Blazers and doing this mock off season and stuff. But yeah, you should come join if you want to be part of the community and interact more.
There we go.
Thank you. So the plan right now is to go live with free agency at 7 p.m. So in an hour and 45 minutes for those who aren't on Pacific time.
Yep. So should be off. We'll be off air by then. I want to be off air by then. We streamed for a couple hours on last Friday. Gonna keep it a little bit shorter today. Let me just get set up.
For people in chat, is it just my thing or is the quality really bad?
The video quality?
Yeah.
No, the video
there it
quality's
goes.
fine. I have this. I just said I have this.
It keeps. I know it keeps fading in and out for me. I don't know what's going on.
That's weird.
But now it's now it's bad again.
Well, I mean, just on your end, it's probably just lag on your end.
Yeah, I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't for everyone.
Got you. That banner is the best looking banner. I gotta fix the banner. I want to come up with a whole new stream overlay. That'd be kind of fun to do. So, anyway, I dropped a mailbag. Make sure you check it out after the stream. And ask me a question in that comment section. Yeah, I got the stream up, so I can tell if it's lagging. I haven't had the stream up in past. I haven't had it on my phone, but right now I do, so I should be able to tell.
Yeah, it's not lagging at all. It just looks like really compressed, and then it goes fine, and then it gets compressed again. I don't know.
Strange. All right. So first off, before we take questions about mock off season, so we actually have some NBA news. Really, the only NBA news in the past month, which was the fact that teams are allowing, or the NBA is allowing teams to open up practice facilities in states that have relaxed their stay-at-home rulings. It's not something where you can have a team-oriented practice. It's just an option for players to go into the practice facility for individual workouts or whatever. Still adhering to social distancing guidelines and all that. But before, players couldn't go into practice facilities at all. They were all 100% closed. Now it sounds like they're going to start opening them up a little bit. And I thought this was interesting because it's sort of like the first step if they want to get back to having the end of the season. But it also made me wonder, okay, if they were able to do this with all practice facilities, would this take off some of the time that the Players Association and teams were saying they needed to get ready to play basketball again? They were saying that they needed 4 weeks to get ready. Does that count okay, being able to just get into the practice facility for a couple weeks and then team-oriented stuff for a little bit? Or you know what I mean? What is that? How does that play into them being prepared for the season? The reason why that's important as a Blazers fan is if they resume at the end of June, there's pretty much not enough time for the Blazers to make a playoff run because they're going to have to cut regular season games. This is obviously just hypothetical if they resume because there is a really good chance that they just end up canceling the season. But if they resume, they've been kind of talking about the end of June. If they do that, they don't really have the time to play out 16 regular season games. Because they've said they want to be done by Labor Day because they don't want to compete with the start of the NFL season, which makes sense. And just I've kind of sorted out the schedule, done the math. I mean, I don't know how they'd fit in more than 5 or 6 regular season games if they start end of June. So the only way they're going to be able to fit in like the rest of the regular season is if they started earlier than that. I wonder if opening up practice facilities start of May, maybe they open up more in the middle of May. I wonder how that bodes to the timeline of coming back, because unless they do something where you can play in as you know, the Portland Trailblazers can play in, you know, 9 versus 10, winner plays 8 or something like that. The only way the Blazers could even make the playoffs is if they had a lot of regular season games left, and the only way that happens is if they really start rolling the ball soon.
Yeah, I don't think it can hurt that timeline. So I'm hoping that that's just their best case scenario, is that people can start using the practice facility, get back in shape, and then once it's time for practice, you know, gear up. But yeah, it still seems unlikely that it would get to that point by June, but hopefully as time goes by, there's little things like this that help the situation become clearer. The only other thing I could think of is if they played out the regular season but decreased the playoffs. But I think they'd probably do the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking they would do 5-game series for the first and second round, and then they'd go to 7 for the conference finals and NBA finals, and I don't know. But the thing is, you can't really, like, condense it too much if the players aren't really, you know, back into a groove. It's just a weird situation to balance, and I just feel like it's really hard to see a scenario where you have the even half the regular season played out, to be honest. So I don't know. It's just tough to see a scenario where we get back to playing basketball and the Blazers are playing playoff basketball unless there's play-in games. I don't know. I felt like opening up the practice facilities was a little bit earlier than they were planning on do so. So they have a little bit longer runway to ramp up for the regular season. I was wondering if that could maybe make it so they're able to resume. I don't know. Obviously, it's dependent upon the coronavirus, but just in terms of being based on just in terms of being ready from the I can't formulate what I'm trying to say. I'm not viewing it based off the pandemic. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it based off players being ready to play physically. I wonder if it's possible to get them to that point by mid-June, because if you could get there by mid-June, you would have a chance of being able to fit in the rest of the regular season. Then you'd have a chance of the Portland Trailblazers being able to make a run. Only other way they could make the playoffs is if they did some play-in type thing. You know, honestly, right now you got a bunch of teams tied like 9 through 12. Do 9 versus 12, 10 versus 11. The winners play each other. The winner of that plays Memphis for the 8th spot or something like that. I think that'd be cool to see. I think it makes sense given the standings, makes sense given the situation with not being able to fit in a bunch of games. I would like to see some sort of play-in like that, just kind of based on team records. It wouldn't really make much sense for the East because you don't have a bunch of teams tied up there. They're pretty far behind, whereas in the West you have a bunch of teams clumped up, so maybe you do something conference specific based off the standings. I'm not entirely sure, but those it's just hard to like picture a realistic scenario where the Blazers end up being able to play playoff basketball, even if they do resume the season.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that is if they just went straight to the playoffs, you're basically cutting off revenue for 14 teams. And those 14 teams won't be happy that they don't get to finish their remaining home games. But if there's no fans, I guess it doesn't matter anyway. But we've talked about this on a previous stream. There's like certain contracts where they don't have to pay out full TV contracts if they don't play a certain amount of games on that channel.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be some teams that need to play some regular season teams to fulfill their end of a fully paying out on a, like, say, Comcast Northwest. The Blazers were required to play 70 games of the season on that channel. So they might be getting screwed out of a lot of money by not providing that. So, um,
Here's my problem with that is if you have if you bringing back teams, getting them ready, bringing them out to Vegas or whatever just to play 4 teams to satisfy that rule, and then you send them
yeah,
home. Players aren't going to want to do that, really. Like, teams are not going to want to do that, because if you're the Portland Trailblazers 3.5 games back, if you had a full regular season, you'd have a chance to go catch the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, you think you deserve a chance, especially considering that Memphis' schedule has been so much easier than Portland's to this point. But if you're told,
yeah.
okay, you're going to get ready to play basketball, get back into the groove, ramp up practices, whatever, and then you're going to fly down to Vegas, and you're going to stay quarantined for a week, and you're going to play 4 games, but that's it. It's only 4 games. Basically, that's how, like, they wouldn't have a chance to make it. They're 3.5 back.
Yeah.
Like, they'd have to win all 4, and then Memphis lose all 4. Like, that's that's probably not going to happen. So basically, you're flying down there if you're Portland for a week, quarantined in a hotel. Not like a good situation to be in unless you're competing for something, or unless you're playing a lot of games. Like, if you're playing 15 games as a lottery team, like, it's still 15 games, so it's worth it, in my opinion. 4 games, doing all that for 4 games, just when you know that 4 games isn't enough to make it into the playoffs as the Portland Trailblazers, I don't think players would be out for that.
Unless we played all 4 against Memphis.
I mean, at that point, just have a play-in,
Yeah,
have the,
I
like,
was joking.
yeah, have a round robin or something, pull the teams off, and have that count as the 70 games or whatever. Like, be creative with it. Like, if it's just like, oh, for the next 4 regular season games are going to be played, and then, okay, moving on to the playoffs, it's just like, okay, you're literally just having those teams do all that to satisfy a contract. I get contracts are important, but the players lose out there. I don't think the players would really be up for that.
Actually, there's a lot of players that it's technically fully guaranteed contracts, but if they don't play a certain amount of game, there's only, I think it's 9 players in the NBA that have it written in their contracts for guaranteed during a pandemic, and they're all Rich Paul clients of Clutch Sports.
Yeah.
So there's several players that are in the same position where if they don't play a few more regular season games, they will not get their full paycheck. They'll only get like 80% of it, I think. So that's a lot of money when you're talking about like a $20 million contract or something. I think CJ is one of those. So he's like, if he's making like 25 million or whatever it is, 28 million, and you're talking 20% of that contract you miss out on, that's a good chunk of money.
I mean, I guess, but also then what is the point for fan bases to tune in at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You're not going to have, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess people are bored and stuff. It's just like, it's just not a good situation. It's not
the other thing too
look, in my opinion.
I don't think they could just like go back and start the regular season or the playoffs without having some sort of warm-up games first either. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird situation, but I don't know if it would necessarily be 4 games, but
they need to have.
Maybe they just say screw it and not worry about the NFL and just play longer.
Yeah, I mean, given that it might be until spring before we can even have mass gatherings again, maybe it makes sense to play into October or maybe even November, then restart next season in April and have it going. Or not April, in like February or something, and make it go until, I don't know, maybe condense it a little bit.
Yeah.
Make it go until like August.
Yeah.
That's like really condensed September, and then start back up to I don't know, because that's the thing, you start messing with schedules for multiple years if you do that.
We started talking about this, I think it was on our last stream too, where they could just play on like opposite nights of the NFL. So don't play on Sunday and Monday, but play playoffs on Tuesday through Saturday, and they could rule those 5 days or whatever, and NFL could rule the other 2. I think, but the problem is, like, if they do it and NFL plays you're going to have situations where like baseball would probably play too. So you're going to have it's going to be like
Baseball.
every sport competing in the same month. Like I'm not saying baseball would take away from those
Yeah,
two,
nobody
really,
cares
but
about.
what I'm saying is you could have like a month or two where like every sport is playing for the first time ever. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it would be interesting. There's like a week every November or like end of October where you have the NBA and you have Major League Baseball and you have NFL, but that's like the World Series of Major League Baseball. That's like there's like only like a week or so. You have NHL as well. You have NASCAR as well. You have I don't know when MLS season is. I pay no attention to Major League Soccer, but you have it's like 1 week. It would be interesting to see it for like a whole month or something like that. But I'm just wondering if you ran the season into, I don't know, even the start of October. When do you start next season? January? Then when do you end it? Then when does the season after that start? Like you're kind of pushing it where you're almost getting too far away from the normal start date, if that makes sense. And it's going to be
Yeah,
hard. You're going to have to like condense a couple off seasons in that scenario.
I wonder how much like being off for months now would made like how close to this like say they're off for 3 or 4 months. Like is that much different than if they would have finished the season and had 3 or 4 months off, other than not being able to go to the practice facility and stuff. It'd be interesting to see like if that rest is fine, if people are ready to start sooner than they would be normally because they had this big layoff. But yeah, it's hard to know the answer to any of these questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try and come up with like a whole idea for that and make it into a video.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Make it into a video. I will definitely be doing more videos now that got this stream separated. Streams and the videos separated.
Deathstrom's right. Ratings would be so interesting. Yeah, like I can't imagine if the NBA playoffs found a way to be on TV right now, what the ratings would be.
Yeah, yeah.
They would kill. They would kill right now.
I mean, you look at what iRacing is doing with NASCAR. Their virtual NASCAR stuff was starting off getting more than 1 million views a broadcast. We're talking about iRacing. We're talking about
Like
virtual
video game
NASCAR.
racing,
Yeah,
basically.
which I mean, like it's
cool, but
it's
yeah.
a realistic sim, like as realistic as you can imagine. I think, there's like a lot of elements, fine-tune elements of realism to it. So, it is a skill-based thing, but it's also a video game.
Yeah.
So, but they were blowing it out of the park. So you bring a real sport back, you bring the NBA back, the NBA would pop off. The NBA would probably get the best ratings ever. Who knows?
All those TV contracts would be really happy.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how much it keeps up once like people are used to sports being back. Because if the NBA comes back, you're probably gonna have baseball back, whatever. But with there not being fans and stands at a basketball game, it's gonna stand out more at the basketball game and at an NBA game than any other sport, just because the crowd's always right there. You always see large swaths of the crowd at all times. The crowd is like basically on top of the players. Without the crowd, I feel like it's more of a difference in atmosphere with and without fans at an NBA game than it would be at an NFL game, because the noise matters, but you don't even see the fans on TV. They're not like right there 2 feet away from the court. Baseball would kind of be in between, in my opinion, but I don't know. I mean, people would still watch it.
Yeah.
It just sucked not to have like the atmosphere to match the playoffs or whatever. But like that's literally the only option right now. I
still think it would be. Have you ever watched like the Orlando Summer League?
Yeah.
It would be like that, but like it would actually mean something. So I think it would still be pretty intense. But yeah.
I mean, the
what's
play
up,
would
Doge?
be
How you
intense.
doing, man?
God, gonna miss that atmosphere. And the thing is, probably not gonna have that back until 2021.
Yeah.
So when do you want to, maybe run this season late to fit in the whole entire thing? And then when do you want to start next season? That's the question. And then when can that season end? I mean, you already start late October and end in the middle of June. It's already like a how long is that? 8 month season. So if you start in like end of January, you're ending in September. Maybe you condense that to August, because I think you'd have to end in August and then resume like start of September. I don't know, but that's like condensed, man. If you wanted to try and get back to a normal start time in 2021, 2022, I think at that point they just say screw it and go with Christmas, which I'm not a fan of. But
yeah, they could always do like the lockout shortened season had 66 games.
Yeah,
they could just do something like that. Just cut out like the other than your division playing. You play every other team in your conference 3 times instead of 4. Like you do most of them.
Yeah, maybe end the season in July, resume at a normal time late October, because July is like there's baseball. That's it.
Yeah.
So you'd actually be able to really have a hold on things. I think the Olympics are in August next year, so get it done before the Olympics. I don't know. It's just a situation that I didn't think we'd be. I don't know. I didn't think this is what we'd be talking about 3 months ago. It's just kind of crazy how much everything's just turned on its head at this point. But we can start taking questions from chat. We can start taking questions about free agency.
That's from free agency is going to start at 7 p.m. Pacific time, so in an hour and 25 minutes.
Players aren't going to start accepting until Friday, though, right?
Yeah. So the plan is on stream on Friday. We'll start to announce some of the signings, but free agency is going to probably go over a couple weeks span, so you don't have to like get your offers in that second. You have a few days to get your offers in. Obviously, the longer you wait, the less likely people might be interested, but I'm not going to like count it against someone who emails tomorrow night instead of like right at 7:01 tonight,
Yeah. Ad says, "What's up, Eric and Tori? If the season ends up being over, who do you think has the best shot to start out the 2021 season with a bang? Anthony, Trent, or Nas?" I think it'd be Trent, just because I think that he's going to be the only one that's going to be in the rotation.
Yeah.
You got a bench lineup, and I pointed this out on my mailbag. Bench lineup next year, I think, will be Trent, Hood, Whiteside, and then an MLE signing. I suggested Maurice Harkless in that video. I think that'd be a good guy to bring back. We need a hybrid wing, big wing that can defend and shoot okay-ish sometimes. Harkless shot 35% the last 4 years. I think he's underrated as a shooter and as a cutter. I think he's like the type of player we need off the bench unit. But 9-man rotations, when you have a good bench, you almost can't play 10 guys just because those bench guys aren't getting enough minutes. If you have a good team, it's hard to play 10 guys.
Like what the Blazers are doing in our mock-off season.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he's doing, which you just don't have enough minutes to go around. So I think that's the problem that Trevin's going to run into, is he's going to run into a problem where he's not getting his players enough minutes. And I think he's going to realize that when he gets there and tries to because I'm going to have, when we get into the sim, I'm going to have you just give me a minutes breakdown of who you want playing minutes where. So like point guard, I'll type it in chat. So like, say Blazers signed. If I hit enter, it's probably going to go down. But like, so point guard minutes.
Hi, Mom.
Point guard. He said, "You like age, you like take like 20 years off your age." It's so funny. I like it. But point guard minutes, if like CJ's playing the point guard off the bench, you'd have it like that. Like Lillard playing 36 minutes, McCollum playing 12, adds up to 48. So you do that for every position. Shooting guard be like McCollum 24, Trent 24, or something like that, and small forward. That's how you give me your minutes breakdown of players you want to play. I think Trevin's going to run into a problem trying to fit in minutes for all those guys, because unless he plays right at the 3.
Doe's just saying the leg is really tough. Is anyone else having leg issues? It's not legging for me.
I wouldn't even respond to lag unless like multiple people say it. To be honest,
Yeah.
because it happens with other people all the time. I have.
Just try refreshing.
I mean, I have
Yeah.
my screen up right now. But yeah, if multiple, that's usually I ignore it unless I see multiple people say it. Just because people will literally lag out on their own and then like point it out. But
Yeah, the problem Trevin's going to have is getting Graham and DeLon Wright enough minutes to be happy
yeah,
with that. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see what he does with that 10-man rotation, because it looks fine on paper, but then once you start breaking it down and you know you're not going to play Dame and CJ like 27 minutes. So yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, I'm in an easier situation because I'm kind of tanking next year. So
Yeah.
I might do some weird things positionally. My starting lineup, like, these guys are already on my team, so I can talk about them. My starting lineup.
Streaming and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're streaming. But my starting lineup next year might be DeMar DeRozan at point guard and Obi Toppin at small forward with Markkanen and Jared Allen. Like, which DeRozan, honestly, I think wouldn't necessarily be a bad point guard. Like, you get 6 assists a game, can handle the ball well. You'd definitely need a good secondary ball handler with DeRozan. Thing is, I'm not trying to win, so I probably won't have that. I'll probably have a Lonnie Walker or something. But I can say I'm gonna tank. There is no tampering on streams. There is no, I'm gonna have to keep DeRozan, because anybody who wanted DeRozan couldn't match his contract because they traded for guys and all their salary is like from other teams and they can't combine it together, or it's salary they wouldn't want to trade. So I'm not finding a good deal. So I'm gonna wait. He'll be a good like mid-season trade addition for a team, because it'll open the amount of teams that can trade for him will open up as the season goes along. So yeah, I mean, screw it. I still got DeRozan, so it's not even looking like I'm tanking at the moment. I still got DeRozan, I got Jared Allen, I got Markkanen. Like, shoot, I might mess around and accidentally make the playoffs. I don't know. Hopefully I don't, because I don't want to make the playoffs, but I'm making all the right moves.
Just to be clear, we're still not able to combine contracts. It's 2 months in real life, so most of those trades took place around the draft, which would be end of June. So we're talking about August, like end of August time, where those contracts would be comparable. Obviously, we're not going to wait 2 months in the game because time's a little different in the game. But like right now, we're on July 1st, but those contracts aren't going to be combinable till late August. So we still have a ways until pretty much after free agency is all done before contracts would be combinable again.
Yeah, we're gonna. I would say maybe make Friday, July 1st.
Okay, yeah.
Since players start accepting on July 1st, but we're gonna wait until Friday for players to start accepting offers. If that makes sense.
That'll be like the moratorium end or whatever.
Yeah, but people won't know, what play, and you got guys confirming during the moratorium, so you know what guys you're going to have or moves you can make.
But we already switched to the new league year for trades last night, so.
I mean, yeah, our timeline isn't exactly matched up with the NBA just because it's like hard to work like that. Or I'd say make July 1st Wednesday or something, split it in the middle. But like we're already in the new year technically, but I'm just thinking for stuff like trade exceptions and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where you're like, okay, this trade exception expires 7 days into free agency, if that makes sense. That's the only thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah, like those, we'll just go by a case-by-case basis with that. But like, let's say the Jake Layman one is like July 8th or whatever. Like, we're not going to be like, okay, it's Friday, you can't use that anymore. I'll like make sure people know exactly when that date will pass, if they want to use it or not.
Yeah, okay. That was the only thing I was really worried about with that.
Doge says, by the way, I have a question. Once free agency is over and we get to the season, we'll be able to adjust our rotations and adjust minutes. Yeah, so Tori's going to...
I literally just explained
I think you had a plan to...
I literally just explained that. If you look up...
He's having connection issues.
Oh, yeah. If you look up my last comment, You see where I said point guard, Lillard 36, McCollum 12. That's how you set your lineup. You'll do that for all 5 positions. I can give you an example in Discord, but you do.
Well, I think he's asking, is it set once you set it? And no, there's going to be several stopping points every couple weeks in the season, and we're going to.
Here's how I'm thinking I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 2 weeks of sim, or like half a month of sim every 2 days. Okay, so like every other day I won't be simulating whatever. You guys will know, when I simulate it, because I'll post, the standings afterwards. I'll post in the Discord. I'll have a thread for that. But you can submit lineup changes to me on days off. So basically you can change your lineup as often as every 2 weeks. And you just send me that minutes breakdown, and I will go in on your team. I'm controlling all teams. I'll go in on your team, and I will set the minutes based off of what minutes breakdown you gave me. Coaches are not relevant in this. I'm going to equalize all their ratings, just because that'd be too much to handle. But therefore it makes no sense to really have coaches be an advantage if we're not allowing you to like go out and try and get other coaches or whatever. So we're just going to make it not matter at all. Could we just say let the CPU handle it? Yes, you can. I figured you guys would like trying to set your lineups, and the thing is I'll post stats. You won't know your players' overall ratings. I'll be the only one who knows, which, isn't perfect. But the badges, I'm trying to make it like a realistic sim where you're not just playing guys based off a number. I'm trying to make it based off, you're going to play guys based off performance. And then the ratings will kind of fluctuate throughout the season. And so therefore player production will fluctuate throughout the season. And I figured it'd be cool to like let you guys kind of tweak your lineups based off that. So I do plan on posting like stats, just scrolling through all 30 teams' player stats in just one video, and just kind of like going to like the Knicks and then scrolling down through their player stats, then going on the next team, scrolling down through their player stats, and you can pause it and look at stats, whatever. But I figured it'd be cool to like let you guys kind of toy with your lineup or adjust your lineup throughout the season and that type of stuff. Or you can let the computer do it. You don't have to let me know every 2 days. Just like let me know at the start of the season, and then if you want to change it, let me know. If not, I'll just keep it what it is. Or if there's an injury, I'm going to like need to know what you want to do to adjust that. If you don't answer, I'm just going to assume CPU. If you don't give me a prompt on and you don't let me know anything, then I'll just let the computer do it. The way I'm doing injuries is I'm going to have like a durability rating for each players, and it's going to be like randomly generated, but hopefully realistic. I want to go through certain players and give them like a 1 to 5 durability rating. And then after 2 weeks of sim, then I'll roll for injuries, if that makes sense. Just so we're not doing some where somebody gets hurt and then your team has to play 2 weeks with them being injured without you being able to change the lineup, if that makes sense. You guys will see how it works, but G League progressions, I've said this whole entire time, one, not to make moves off of 2K progressing. Don't sign a guy to a 2-way thinking that because don't sign a guy to a 2-way because 2K like rapidly progresses 2-way players, because we're going to make it realistic. Like, it's not going to be based off 2K's system. Go ahead.
Can we like get this onto free agency instead of 2K? I don't know why everyone keeps bringing it back to 2K.
I don't know. It was only 5 minutes of talk. It was just.
I know. I'm just saying, like, everyone's making comments about 2K now, and it's like.
It gets people more excited for free agency if they get to see this come to fruition. So
yeah, I know people have questions and are struggling to understand the free agency thing. Like Ben just asked, so do I email you guys? Like, did you not read the sheet or what?
Did you read the sheet, Ben? Yeah, let's move off 2K. But just so you guys get a taste of like what we have planned for like the next step, just to get you guys.
But like Zacho was like, Naismith and 2K has a terrible point rating.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
rating should be good.
We told you from the beginning that we're switching. Like nothing that happens in a normal 2K sim will be relevant to what our sim is, because Tori said many times that he's fixing stuff to make it more realistic instead of just going with the 2K sim. So I don't know why you guys are freaking out about that all the time.
Yep.
What's up, toilet clogger? How you been, man?
What's up, man? So yeah, Ben. Okay, so let me get into this. I gotta roast a couple people here. You know how ridiculous it is that we'll put together a sheet of instructions that's like 3 pages long that takes 5 minutes to read, and then some people will sit there and say, that's too long to read, I'm not going to read it, and then insist on asking us a bunch of questions and taking up our time when we literally have explained everything in a sheet that takes 5 minutes to read. You know how ridiculous that is? Like, that, come on, man. Like, there's been multiple people that have said, I don't want to read the free agent instructions, or it's too long to read, or stuff like that. Are you kidding me? It takes 5 minutes to read that thing. And you guys know who you are too. It takes 5 minutes to read that thing. It takes us more time to try and answer your questions, because we typed it out in a specific way where it's clear and concise and not that long of a read. Eric typed out pretty much all of it. I added I had a little bit, but Eric typed it out clear and concise for you guys. So if you have questions, then look at the sheet first, or read the whole sheet so you know what's explained in that sheet. I don't want it to be something where, 3 days from now somebody's asking us how they submit free agent offers, because it's explained right there in the very beginning of that sheet. It's just ridiculous that we spend a lot of time putting it together, and people can't help us out and take 5 minutes to read something. It's too long for them. I assume it's more frustrating for Eric, since he's the one who put that whole thing together, and he has spent more time on this than I have. My part is the whole 2K sim thing. His part is the off season, because he spent a lot of time on this.
Darren says, "Sounds like the life of a teacher." God, I feel like that sometimes, but so if you read it and you're like, "Hey, I don't understand the restricted free agency, how that works. I tried reading it. I'm still a little confused. Can you please explain it to me?" Absolutely no problem. But if you say hey, I saw restricted free agency was on the list, I don't really feel like reading it, can you try to explain it to me? That's where I'm going to have a problem. Yeah. like that's ridiculous. Just read it first, and then if you have questions, fine. But don't come to me asking about something because you don't want to take the time to read it. That was getting a little ridiculous last night.
Russell, first round ISO Westbrook, I can't think of anything where you've come close to being a problem or giving us a hard time or anything at all. Yeah. Man, you've been great, bro.
Except for taking my pick because they didn't do your research. No, just kidding.
There's just people out there that don't read and will constantly ask us stuff that we literally have just explained. Sometimes it'll be on stream. We'll literally explain something on stream. Doge was lagging out, so I'm not blaming Doge here. But there will be other people that will explain something in the middle of me explaining something. They'll ask me a question about based on something that I literally just explained, or we'll put out something on the team sheet. I don't know, a perfect example of this was your sheet that said, "Do not read means nothing yet. Do not ask questions," or whatever, in all caps in big 48 size font at the top of a sheet, and then you still have people asking questions about it. You know what I mean? It's just people, I assume they saw it and just didn't. I don't know, man.
Well, it's the equivalent of your mailbag today. You doing a video about the Blazers bench, and then be it someone asking a question for next mailbag. Hey, what do you think the Blazers should do with their bench next offseason? Yep. That's what happens. Yep. It's kind of funny. Obviously they're not reading it, or
I mean that's a little different because some people ask questions right at the start. But if the title's based on it, then they should be asking a question. Yeah, you're right. Because if it's a question that isn't reflecting the title, I get it. If they ask it at the Perez, get the hell out of here, bro. If it's a
I
if
want to say it was the Anthony Simons one. You said like I forgot what you titled it, but it was something about Anthony Simons, and then like someone was like, "Hey, what do you think of Anthony Simons long term?" And that was like the whole point
yeah,
of
it's
the
like it's the
video.
damn title. You couldn't see the title, man. Like, so trust me, guys, that happens all the time. So thank you to the people that do read it. There's just a couple people that were complaining about how long it was. Russell
But
first joining at Westbrook. Hey, why are you doing your streams on this channel now? Oh man, that was a long
that's a good
intro
question
today.
because for people who once it starts to pick up back again, like we'll have to explain that to all the people
Yeah,
who aren't because we're only getting a few viewers for these, but I absolutely have no problem with people if you're like, hey, can you explain my personal team sheet a little more? Like, what do I have the full MLE or the tax MLE or whatever? Like, feel free to ask as many of those questions as you want. Just don't ask me to explain something that's on the sheet. But do you want to answer Trevin's question from earlier?
yeah. Actually, let me just put this out there first. If you're confused with something on the sheet, go ahead and ask us about it. Say, read the sheet, but I'm confused about this or something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Like,
Yep.
we just want you guys to try and understand it by reading the sheet. That's what the sheet is there for. Don't be like, oh, it's too long, it's too much. I just want to ask you guys. Like, it just makes it a lot harder on us, and it's honestly literally the easiest thing for us to do would just to go copy paste from the sheet anyway. So just go read the damn thing. So Trev's question. So hypothetically, you could do $1 short of the full mid-level exception, not get hard capped. That is incorrect. You can't use more than the taxpayer mid-level exception unless you want to get hard capped. So if you use $1 more than the taxpayer mid-level exception, then you get hard capped. You just can't go. Once you go past the taxpayer, then you're into the full MLE. If you're into the full MLE, then you get hard capped. So basically, if you don't want a hard cap, the most you can spend, I think it's 6 million or so.
6.025 or something. Yep.
And that's the team salary sheet. We made it so that it was easy for you guys to understand kind of what you had, where you were at. I blocked out the full mid-level exception for teams that are like way into the tax, that are like already past the hard cap. You don't get mid-level exceptions if you have cap space, so the teams that had cap space, regardless of their cap holds, I blocked that out too. So I kind of blacked out certain parts so you guys would know what you have. But yeah, it says the taxpayer remaining mid-level exception is $6,025,000 for almost every team. So that's how much you have to spend mid-level exception wise. If you spend any more than that, you get hard cap.
We just lag. Oh no. Okay.
And some teams use part of their mid-level exception to sign rookie to sign their second round draft picks. So that's where you see some teams have used. It's like 946,000, and that automatically subtracts from your taxpayer remaining, your full remaining. So that'll be where you can see kind of how much of certain exceptions you have left. I figured it'd be easier to kind of for you guys to see this stuff if it was on a sheet like this.
And productions, you're not late. Once again, it starts at 7 p.m., so you have a little over an hour. And even if you did not get offers in right away, it's fine. But for the record, you can just offer someone your tax MLE if you're not understanding exactly how much to offer them, and then just say like, I'd like to offer you this for 2 years or 3 years, or like if it's a max contract, instead of trying to figure out exactly what the max is, you could say I'm offering you the max allowable or whatever, and I'll figure all that out for you. So just so yeah, like if you want to offer Torrey Jones the full mid-level exception, you just say put Torrey Jones on the subject and then say, hey, I'm the Hornets. I really like your game, man. I really want you to sign with us for the full mid-level exception for 4 years. And yeah, you can do that. You don't have to break it down like, so the mid-level exception is 9.7 whatever, and you can do that if you want, but I'm just saying, like, you don't have to take the time to be that detailed about it if you don't want to.
Yeah. Also, if you don't, so you can, the other part of it, did we specify this in, maybe we need to add on a little something to that sheet, the, like, 5% backloaded, 5% front loaded option, 0% flat?
I was just planning on addressing that
Okay.
if it needed to be for each
So
offer.
let me just say to help my idea here. I think the default should be 5% backloaded. Where basically what that means is each year, the contract gets 5% more. So like if you sign a guy to a contract starting at $10 million with 5% raises, then the year after that he'd make $10.5 million. The year after that he'd make $11 million and so forth. That's kind of like the default rate. That's why you see a lot of contracts going up on your team sheet. So if you don't specify like, how you want the salary to progress throughout their contract, then we're just going to assume it's 5% raises.
I was just going to assume, like if it's 3 years, 30 million, it would be 10 million a year. That'd be easier for us. But yeah, we could actually do that on a case by case basis. But yeah, I like what you're doing. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can sort out like the amount of money it'd be. Like I have an Excel equation set up to like easily figure that type of stuff out. So if you need help with that, I got you. But yeah, it'll be 5% raises unless you specify in your contract offer, like I'm offering you $10 million a year for 3 years, $30 million total, flat rate, or something like that. That would basically mean $10 million each year. It doesn't get higher, doesn't get lower. Or you can front load it, which there's a couple contracts like that, say in 5% front loaded or something. Decreases by 5% each year. Just specify something like that, and we can sort it out that way. If you want like if you want to give a player a specific sort of contract that isn't just a generic backloaded contract, try and let us know, and we can, I don't know, we can sort it out.
Yeah.
Basically, you have the freedom to like front load contracts and make the salary flat and whatnot. I'm not really expecting people to really do that, so we'll just we'll see. We don't really need to harp on it too much right now.
Yeah, if you have cap space too, you can structure your contracts differently as well. But yeah, you don't have to use one of those exceptions if that's not clear.
Yep. So, watch it on toaster quality and buffering every 2 seconds. Yeah, Doge, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what's up with the stream quality.
Him and Ben are the only two having problems.
I mean, I got the stream up right here. It's looking good to me.
What's up, Tanner? So free agency will start in about an hour. 7 o'clock is when you can start emailing, and that's Pacific time.
Yep.
Does anyone have any specific questions about their team or whatever that you want to have answered on stream?
Yeah, we can answer your guys' questions before we wrap this up. Gonna wrap this up in like the next 15 minutes or so.
I would go through our pages for people, but we're both under the cap, so it's not really going to help anyone.
Yeah.
Am, do you want me to go over your team while on the stream? He's kind of a good one to go through.
Okay, I can even put his team sheet up on your face cam. Let's do that. Houston.
So he doesn't really have any tax or holds, but he's got a couple of qualifying offers for the minimum, but no, he's renounced all his free agents.
Mm-hmm.
So,
are you sure?
Well, he's got minimum holds.
Oh, minimum holds
that he didn't want to get rid of, but yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Because I thought it's.
But anyway, so he's a good one because he's at, right around 130 to 132 million in salary already for next season.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask the question, does he have the full mid-level exception or does he have the tax mid-level exception? Well, if he uses the full mid-level exception, he would be hard capped at 145 million for the entire league year. So you look up at his roster, and he's got 11 people, only 9 people under contract if you take away the 2 qualifying offers. So he needs to fill out 5 roster spots and use the tax mid-level exception. So you're talking almost 10 million. So you're then at about 142 million or so, and then you have to sign a couple more players still. So it'd be really tight without cutting some salary somewhere else to use the full mid-level exception. So I'd probably say in his case, the safest bet would just be to use the tax mid-level exception and not get taxed. So that's the kind of things you have to look at. Like, yeah, he could probably find a way to use the full mid-level exception, but is that what's best for his team this year?
Yeah, and for somebody like the Pacers without cap holds are at 137 million. So I should probably honestly black out the full mid-level exception for them, but I haven't, because they could maybe make a trade and save 5 million and get down to 132 and renounce their cap holds and then use their full mid-level exception or something. So like teams that were kind of on the border, I didn't necessarily black things out, but like for the Pacers, man, you got, he only has 7,300,000 or so under the hard cap to use his full mid-level exception. And then let me look at his roster spots. Indiana, where's Indiana? And this is if he renounced all his cap holds. So if he renounced Justin Holiday, and he'd still have to add another player on top of that. Because he'd have, if you renounce Justin Holiday, that'd take him away. He'd have 12 players. You have to have minimum 14 players. So you'd have 13 the MLE guy. 14 would have to be a minimum contract guy making about $1 million, a little under that. So realistically, you take away that $1 million from the 7. It's just, it probably seems confusing. It's just math, guys. It's just math. You take away that $1 million from this, you'd have only like about $6 million to spend, mid-level exception-wise, which is what the taxpayer is worth. So, he's not really in a position where he can use the full mid-level exception. Actually, I'm going to black it out just because.
And then,
these are the type of questions you guys can, ask me about.
Yeah. And then, so Dizzy D is asking if we're doing 15-man rosters. In the NBA, you can do either 14 or 15. Mm-hmm. And then, your two-way players do not count. You can have 2 of those for a total of 17. Your two-way players was also asked by ads, who can you sign to a two-way contract? You can attempt to sign anyone who's been in the league for 3 years or less of service time. So anyone that was an undrafted rookie would obviously qualify for that. So that's probably the most likely place to look if you want two-way contracts. There are several players on the free agent list that were maybe 2 ways last year that didn't get picked up this year that would qualify, or someone that's only been in the league a year or two that would also qualify. Mm-hmm. So you can do that for 2 ways as well. And if there's ever if you're having questions about someone you're not seeing on the list, but you want to know if he's available or not, just email me and I'll either tell you why he's not available or I'll add him to the list and make sure everyone knows that I added someone.
Yep. But yeah, they don't count as roster spots. That's why they're down here in a separate section. Your two-way players, that's why they're not on here. This is like your main roster, guys. So you have to have 14 here. Right now it looks like you have 13 if you include Zizic, 12 if you renounce him. So roster spot wise, you look like you're in a solid position, I think. A team like who's a team with like a lot? Oh, Chicago. Chicago's gonna have a tough time because they got, including their qualifying offers, they got 19 under contract. With their qualifying without their qualifying offers, they're still over. They still have 16. So Chicago's in a position where they're going to need to either renounce all these guys and get rid of somebody else, or if they want to keep all 3 of these guys, they got to get rid of 4 other players. So they're in a tough position here with having to downsize their roster.
Or getting stuck in a position where you're having to waive guaranteed guys and having dead money on your books, which isn't good either.
Yeah. Let me.
So real quick, just to add to that last thing, ads. So you can offer those players two ways. It doesn't mean that they're willing to accept two ways. Some guys might get offers for actual contracts on other rosters, and if you're only offering them a two-way, obviously they're going to accept a roster spot on another team. So just because they're eligible for a two-way doesn't mean they necessarily sign a two-way.
What is the luxury tax line?
Hey, this is exactly what you're talking about with Austin Samuels. He must not have been listening earlier.
What? What did he ask?
I feel like I'm going to get screwed over because no matter what, 2K hates the Pacers in Sim.
Man, I'm going to make the Sim realistic. Because honestly, the 2K does hate the Pacers in Sim. I don't know why, but I'm going to try and I'm toying with the ratings and the simulation system and the badges and stuff a lot to hopefully make it more consistent where the Pacers don't randomly get screwed over, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm going to try and make it realistic.
He's traded half his team, so it's not
that's also that's also true. That's also true. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. And the 2K sim is just like the cherry on top. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
have fun with it, but don't take it too seriously. Don't it's if some player if some second round pick develops really well just because the randomization I do with ratings, that doesn't mean you were right. It means basically you were lucky. Yeah. It's just to hopefully play out some storylines, hopefully, make stuff realistic. So it's just something to have fun with. But we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on free agency. Question for you, Eric. Isn't the hard cap more than $6 million above the luxury tax right now? Isn't it like 6.5? Is that something we should even mess with?
I just, on the sheets that I copied, they were 145, and that's because it's based on revenue and stuff. And since we didn't knock the salary cap down, I figured $6 million was a good spot because it's probably going to be less than $115 million for the cap, which would make the hard cap number way less anyway. So, I just thought keeping it 6 would make it easy. Yeah,
I see the logic.
So we didn't have to figure out the math of having it less than 145.
Yeah. Alrighty.
So
let me get rid of these question marks.
Ben says, could we start two-way players? How does it work with playing time two-ways get? Sorry if you answered, I'm lagging. Two-way players can be on the NBA roster for 45 days during the regular season. That's not 45 games, it's 45 days. So, oh my, Doge, man, what?
What Doge say?
He's spamming chat. I don't know if...
Don't be spamming chat, man.
He asked the same thing like 7 times. But anyway,
maybe it's his internet submitting it 7 times.
I'm gonna hope that's his internet.
He said I've been trying to type a question forever and it won't let me. I figured that wasn't him trying to do that. Yeah. His internet
I'll get to his question in a second. But yeah, so you can choose throughout the sim if you want to bring your guys up and how much playing time to get them or whatever, and then bring them down. If you want, there's let's say you really want to, for example, Ben C. Darling is the Wizards, and he's having Cassius Winston as a two-way guy his first year. So if he during the season realizes that he wants Cassius Winston on the team, as long as he has a roster spot open, he can sign him to the actual team and then doesn't have to worry about that 45 days anymore. So there's lots of things you can do. As to Doge's question, no, you will not know what other teams are offering certain players contracts. It's not like in real life, say I was a free agent, or let's just take Whiteside because he's a Blazer that everyone knows. It's not like the Blazers have to be told every time someone contacts Whiteside's agent during free agency. They don't have to tell the Blazers a single thing about free agency. You can ask your player just tell him that you're really interested in matching any other offers you get. But that's part of the trick of free agency. You can't just offer a max player. I'm going to use Brandon Ingram, for example. He's a restricted free agent, so it doesn't really matter. But like, if the Pelicans offered him a 4-year, $40 million, $10 million a year offer, he would be like, screw you guys, I'm going to take the qualifying offer and leave after the season, right? Or go sign with another team for the max and make them match or whatever. So like, you don't want to make your free agents mad. So you have to try to determine what that market value is, and don't undersell him, or he's going to be mad at you and not want to re-sign with you anymore. Especially with Doge's player, I think he's referring to, who's he doesn't have restricted rights to. So like, you want to come strong with an offer if you're worried about other teams offering him a lot of money, and make him happy. Or you could talk to him and say, hey, I know you're an unrestricted free agent, but we really want to sign you, and it'd be great if you could just give us a chance to match, or talk to you about an offer close or more than whatever your max offer from another team is. But then, he doesn't have to answer you, though. He could just say, no, screw you, or yeah, okay, I'll think about that, or whatever. So we're trying to make it as realistic as possible. You're not going to have a list like in 2K where, oh, this player is expecting this amount of money and all that stuff. That doesn't happen in real life. Mm-hmm. You got to try to figure that out as the GM, how much to offer and how much a player is worth and how much you want to have them on your books for and all that stuff. So you got to take everything into account.
Yep. 100%.
We know, Josh. We were just making fun of you. We know you're having internet problems. Does that make sense, though?
It's realistic. It's realistic.
Ash asked what the rules are for sending people to the G League. Yeah, I don't know how in-depth we'll get with that. Obviously, if you have a player that's not getting any playing time, let's say you have a rookie or something and he's just not in the rotation, we'll talk about being able to send them down to a G League, but it's not really going to make too much of a difference probably in this. So
with the rating randomization, so I mean, you're going to be getting back into 2K, but I'll keep it short. So I was planning on having ratings fluctuate a little bit every 2 weeks or so. Not big amounts, but fluctuate a little bit every 2 weeks or so. If somebody makes steady progress, though, if somebody, then they can gain decent ground over a couple months. They can improve a lot over a couple months. I might make the fluctuations a little bit different if the player's in the G League for that span of time. I don't really know. I don't want it to be too overpowered or anything like that, but it would be cool to make it mean something. So I might make the system for that. And I'd try to make it mirror real life, where maybe they would have a small chance to gain more. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I'd do it with that. Why are you facepalming, bro?
Destro. I know he was in here listening earlier.
I know, Destrom. This is exactly what we're talking about. Destrom was literally posting comments when we were talking about how you could submit your lineups, and then I had somebody else. It was Doge, but Doge was lagging, so I got it. And then Doge asked if we could. I explained that you guys can set your lineups. You were here,
Destrom. It wasn't. You didn't just get here again. It was back at the beginning when you were here.
And then 2 minutes after that, Doge, he was lagging, so I got it. He asked us about if we're, if he can set lineups for his team throughout the season. So we explained again, yes. Now here we have Destrom asking that. When Destrom was in here, Destrom was posting during that. So that's what I mean. People don't... Stuff goes in one ear, out the other for some people, man.
Ben says, what do you think the Blazers bench will look? He was joking. That was funny.
Maybe Destrom was joking. I don't know.
That was a good one.
Did you not hear me, Destrom?
No.
Were you not paying attention earlier, man?
I don't think he's joking. He might say he's joking, but
I mean, maybe it will now. But I mean, I get it. You miss one thing, it's not a big deal. When it happens with a bunch of people constantly, it's just But we also said don't even worry about 2K at this point. I shouldn't even be talking about 2K, but yes, you can set your lineups, and when you submit those lineups, you can if I can figure out a difference with the G League, maybe when you submit those lineups every 2 weeks, you can decide to send a player down for the next 2 weeks or bring a player up for the next 2 weeks, and you can make decisions like that. We'll figure that out. We're not there yet.
Tanner, I actually don't want that. I mean, it'd be cool to win a championship, but I'm not gonna be a championship team this year. My team is gonna suck this year.
Yeah, that's the thing. You guys know I'm not. You guys know I'm not like cheating to make my team good because I want my team to be good. Also, I wouldn't do that because there wouldn't be any satisfaction in that. That's the thing. Rigging it for us makes it so that there's no satisfaction if we do well or, that type of thing. So that takes the whole point out of it. So there's literally no point for us to, like, cheat or rig anything or do anything like that. Because I know some people are like, oh, Tori's messing with the ratings based off a random number generator. How can we trust him? It's like, I'm not going to...
Seriously, for me. It would be weird in real life if the Hornets ever won a finals anyway, so I'm not expecting to ever win a championship.
Yeah. I mean, worst case...
Can you picture that? Charlotte Hornets winning the finals? Like, that just seems like one of the least likely scenarios ever.
Yeah, I mean, like, Golden State, up until they actually got good, it seemed weird for them to be really good, true. And then they got really good. Now it's, like, super normal. The 76ers, when they were taking it would have been weird. But then again, like, those teams had at least, like, won a championship before. I mean, the Raptors winning a championship was really weird. The Cavs would have been weird if they didn't have LeBron for so long before and then brought him back. But yeah, I feel like it'd be weird until they got good, and then once they got good, it'd be, like, normal. I don't know.
Thomas Ramsey says Georgios is going to be a 92 in 2K.
Yeah. If only that was possible. Hey, there would be like a very, 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 very small chance that would be a possibility like 5 years down the line. But that would be the case for any player like rated that low. Because you look at like Jokic, what Jokic turned into. Like, I want to make it so it's possible for like 1 or 2 guys in like the next few years to kind of like develop like that.
Yeah, Torrey stashed him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I stashed the man. We'll see how he does in Europe.
There's 2 questions. One, are you going to do the Summer League? That's an option, right?
The Summer League bracket?
On 2K?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
Because that's my best chance of the title.
Yeah. There are gonna be good players on the border though, so I mean, I don't know. Like,
then Dizzy D was asking if there'll be any way to access the roster so he could play for fun on his own with his team.
You should make the moves for your own team, like on your own if you want to just do play now, then make the moves yourself for your own team. There's no way I can like export it to a downloadable roster. I wish I could, but I can't. I'd have to go through into like the roster creator, like outside of my league, because I've been doing everything in my league since we're gonna do a sim with it. I'd have to go through the roster builder outside of my league and put in all the moves, which would be very hard. I'd have to import all the creative players instead of just importing one draft class, then drafting from it. So it'd be a lot of work to do that. And people would really only play with their own teams anyway, so if you want to play with your own team or like look at your own team, I just say import or just make the moves for your own roster. And then maybe if you want to play against another team in this, maybe make the moves for their roster or whatever. Or you can go into my league and do it that way, and you can like play it out. But those are going to be the 2 options for that for you guys. I wish I could like save the My League and like let you guys make it so that you guys could download the My League and jump in exactly where I'm at or something like that. That would be cool. But
it'd be awesome if we were all the same skill level and could just play it for real on 2K. For real. But the problem is there's some of us that are really good at 2K and others that have never played, so yeah.
The San Antonio Spurs winning 75 games, like...
Hey, I watched you play for like 1 minute. I don't think that would be the case.
Well, I mean, shoot, dude. Nobody's going to win if Kent Bazemore's hitting pull-up 19 footers for the win. I mean, I don't even know.
And James missing
Contested double
wide
team.
open.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I like almost full barred that. So I don't know. 2K hates me, so you're right. I would tank, but that would help my tank. Like, I would literally throw on purpose. I would play with the controller upside down so that I got that good lottery pick. Like,
Ben, for some reason, ran the simulation through Basketball GM website, even though the rosters aren't even up or like set yet. But he said I got the number 1 pick again next year. That'd be awesome.
gotcha. Hornets.
He said you made the 8th seed.
I'm that 8th seed? How am I the 8th seed, man?
You got the 8th seed, yeah.
If I'm the 8th seed now, then after free agency, I might be the 6th seed. I don't want to make the playoffs. My team ain't gonna make the playoffs. There's no way. Except none of you guys try to get DeRozan right now. So, I mean, dude's gonna be my starting point guard at the start of next season, I guess. Also, if you want to take on Wayne Ellington's contract, I'll trade him for a smaller contract and give you a second, or I'll just straight cap dump him and give you 2 seconds. I'm trying to get off this man's contract so that I can make fireworks happen in free agency. I know you guys want to see that, so one of you guys help me out with that. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
And if any of you need to dump some salary to get the tax or the full mid-level exception instead of the tax mid-level or roster spots, come talk to me.
Yep. I want Eric off the free agent market. I want less people on the free agent market. I need to make my plan happen.
You shouldn't be worried about me. I guarantee we're not going after the same people.
No, I figured. You might not like my off-season plan, which I'm obviously not going to reveal it, but...
Oh, no. Give us all the details.
But I think it's worthwhile in this more so, like a little bit. I think it's worthwhile in real life, but I think it's more worthwhile in this mock off season than it would be in real life. Even though it's like worthwhile in both, like not a big difference, but just thinking about like, I don't know. I can't give away my plan too much. But I feel like a lot of people are gonna lowball, so I feel like now watch. See, that's just reverse psychology. Now everybody's gonna overpay players now just because I said that. Reverse psychology, I win. I would be the type to do something like that, so maybe I am doing something like that. I don't know. Harden and Lowry, the NBA's new duo. That should have never happened, to be honest.
It's so much worse than Harden and Westbrook. Especially considering giving up the future for him.
What's funny is I literally just said I'm not going to reveal my plan, and people were asking me about players. I'm not going to say I'm going after anybody. I'm not going to not say I'm going after anybody.
Now you're reverse psychology, so
that's no psychology.
You're gonna make it so that no one overpays and you get your guess.
Yeah, I mean, see, you guys don't know what I'm doing. That's be ready for the smoke screens, though.
Yeah,
but maybe they won't be smoke screens.
I don't think you want me to talk about that on stream, Dosh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. I want to know what you guys said to each other last night.
No, it was nothing.
He just like something. I heard personal attacks. I heard you guys are going at it.
It wasn't personal attacks. He made a joke about people, something about free agents, like how people are still going to do something, like offer them money they don't have or something, and then I made a joke about how that's better than saying like offering something to a free agent and then like getting down to the final dollar amount that you're going to pay them, and then being like, "Oh, I don't want to sign you anymore. Never mind. You're not a good fit."
I didn't understand what that was referencing towards, and now I do. So, which I heard you be pulling a fast one a little bit, man.
But it's all good. But yeah,
Doge be playing. Doge thinks he's at the poker table, man.
My Hornets GM phone does not work for Piston calls anymore.
Oh man. My phone only works for Piston calls if they start off the conversation with the name Wayne Ellington. That's it. Other than that, I'm scared about the same happening to me, so I'm not going to take that risk unless it's involving Wayne Ellington.
Everyone got to keep their signing secret, or else the cat is out of the bag. Well, we're not going to announce any till stream on Friday, so
yeah. And
you
can't be saying who you're going after. That's tampering. We're doing full rule book here. No tampering. So no saying who you're going after. Also no asking me if you should give a specific free agent a certain contract. There's somebody in here who knows who they are, who did that, which I'm not going to out anybody, but you shouldn't be asking me if you should give what you should give a free agent. It's tampering, number one. Number two, you don't know who I'm going after. Like, if I'm going after the same player and you say, oh, should I give him this contract? I might say, no, I think you're overpaying him. You know? Because I'm going after the same free agent. So don't ask me those type of questions for advice on that. Okay? I'm not saying I'm going after that free agent that guy mentioned, but regardless, it's tampering. So you shouldn't do it anyway. But also, it's just not the smartest chess move.
it's not. We're just going to announce a few of the first signings on Friday. It's not all of them. It's not just big players. We'll just start announcing players on Friday, assuming I get emails from everyone. If I'm only getting emails from like 10 people, I'm going to message the other 20 and ask, like, are you not participating? Or are you just not offering anyone? And if people don't respond, then I might give a little extra time to see what's going on. But hopefully everyone's going to be participating in free agency.
Yeah, hopefully that's not an issue we run into. So anyway, I'm going to log off this stream since we got 30 minutes until you guys can start submitting whatever crazy offers you guys got. Except there's only like 6 teams with cap space at the moment.
Does anyone still not understand like what you're supposed to do at 7:00 or how to make an offer?
Damn, taking cap holds into account, there's only 4 teams with more money than the mid-level exception.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's gonna be interesting. Which you can renounce your holds and clear up money, but as of now, with the holds on the books. If people renounced a lot of holds, I was surprised that they renounced, to be honest. And even then, still only 4 teams with more mid-level exception money.
Free agency never really ends. It'll just, at some point, we'll move on to, training camp and starting the season. And then having a date where players can be combinable again, which I'm sure will cause another trade wave because, let me just say this, some of you guys with good teams that aren't like rebuilding or just trying to get value out of trades, I have no idea what the heck you guys are doing. Like, you had perfect situations and you're like trading for players that make no sense on your roster, trading away starting players, trading for a player that you don't really have room to play because you have 2 other good options at that position, including a superstar. And yeah, it's just doesn't.
Example. Let's name names.
Okay, yeah, let's name names. The Milwaukee Bucks.
I knew you were gonna go there.
A few days ago, they had Terrence Ross, traded him for Thaddeus Young, which makes no sense, and then traded Thaddeus Young for Will Barton. So basically, they got a slightly worse version of Terrence Ross now on their roster. What was the point?
Barton is better. What do you mean? What?
I don't think Barton's better for that roster.
Okay, maybe. He's a
Ross
better
is a
defender.
better shooter.
He's a better defender, but Barton.
They're both. Neither of them are great. But
Barton was good this year. From what I've read from Nuggets fans, like Barton took a step up in that regard. I don't know. This is a whole nother debate that we could get into that we don't got time for. I didn't understand those moves because, like, what are you going after? It just, like, seems like you're making moves to make moves. Is that going after something specific? The move that I really didn't understand was him getting Daniel Tice, which was a good fit for him, I think.
Yeah.
Daniel Tice is actually a good fit in that lineup. And he had just traded away Brook Lopez for Rashawn Holmes, which I like more than you did. Whatever. Needed another center, though. Traded away Robin Lopez, so need another center. Went out and got Daniel Tice. Great fit in that lineup. And then he traded Daniel Tice for a second-round pick and...
to get Derrick Rose.
Okay,
but then he gives up like way too much for Derrick Rose, who's like a horrible fit on the Bucks roster. Like
you already got George
he
Hill
needs
there.
The ball in his hand. Yeah.
George Hill shot Bledsoe. Like 47%. 47% last year from three, so perfect point guard to like play off of Giannis because he's super efficient. Then you got Bledsoe as the starter, so like where does Rose fit into that?
Yeah.
And you traded away your setter. That fits him perfectly for Rose, who like needs the ball, and you already got two really good point guards there. It just didn't make much sense. I think we were trying to say the same thing.
Yeah. And then you got New Orleans, who had Dinwiddie, who, is questionable fit. I understand trading him for Beverly. I thought that was a decent move for both teams there. And then, well, actually, I don't know about the Clippers side of that, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, so then he's got Beverly as a starting point guard, and he trades him for I forgot who he traded for him initially. It's for Will Barton. And he's got wings already. He needs a point guard, and then he trades Will Barton for Thaddeus Young, and I think that just doesn't make sense why you go from having Dinwiddie to Thaddeus Young, basically. That's horrible value, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and then
nothing personal. We'll see see what he does with it. Because the thing is, because Jordan Hudson run the Pelicans, he made good moves before that. I thought I thought the Steven Adams trade was his like only blemish there, giving up Jackson Hayes, because I think Jackson Hayes next year takes the next step and is around Steven Adams' level, and he's more athletic, he's younger, and you gave up like Jackson Hayes and like picks for gave up the 13th pick for Steven Adams. So that was only the Ingles one. I thought Ingles fit in perfectly there. I thought that 5-team trade was good for him. Well, honestly, like going from he went from Drew Holiday to Thaddeus Young, though. That's just not a good progression. I don't know what he got pick wise to compensate for that, but I think people think Thaddeus Young is better than he actually is. Last year, Thaddeus Young was not good. He's on the decline. He's old, so I think his value, like his trade value, is higher than his actual like value to a team and helping them win.
So the thing is, I just don't understand a team like Milwaukee or New Orleans who's trying to be good, making moves seemingly just to make moves. So, like, if you have a Dinwiddie and you want to trade him, why don't you find the guy who you want to trade for, and then you might have to overpay a little bit, but at least you got the guy that fits in perfect. I don't get trading Dinwiddie for someone that you would just want to trade for someone else, and then trading him for someone else, and then trading him for someone else. Like, the Bucks have done that 10 times. Like, that's a horrible decision to do stuff like that if you're the Bucks, because like what was the point of trading for Terrence Ross in the first place if you were going to trade him for Will Barton? Why don't you just try to get Will Barton at the beginning of the game?
Yeah, I get people that want to be active and do a bunch of moves and whatnot, but from like the analyzing the moves standpoint, it just doesn't make a ton of sense in that regard,
and it's different too because like you and I have made a lot of trades, so like we're kind of being hypocritical, but in every trade we make, we're trying to get value back for that person. We're not trading for someone to then have to pay to trade him again, and that's what's happening here. People are having to attach picks to get rid of players they just traded for and to get a player back that's not necessarily better than the original player they traded. So like that's why like Russell Westbrook is saying he's not making a lot of moves. And that's kind of, it's fine to do that because, like you just don't want to get stuck with situations where you're taking on players in a team like Milwaukee where you're a title contender. You want to have players that fit your roster. You don't want to get players just to trade them for another crappy player or whatever, or bring in Thaddeus Young on that team. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just and then Washington, Ben wants us to talk about him for a second. I have no idea what they're doing either. They're too concerned about having a backup shooting guard and certain positions 10-man roster filled out before we even hit free agency.
Yeah.
So I feel like people are giving up way too much to
Yeah.
to do stuff to get a backup center or a backup point guard or whatever when it's not even really that important at this point of the offseason.
Yep. And I don't know. Doge says, by the way, Tori, once the offseason over, you should make a tier list ranking how you think teams did, but it would hurt. But people's feelings would get hurt. Yeah, there's no way I could do that, man. I'd feel, I don't know. I said at the start, I think don't take any of this personally. It's just moves that you make, and it's moves that we break down. But obviously, people, it's not that simple. It's gotten to the point that I even feel bad, like, talking about, like, oh, I don't know why the Pelicans did this. You know what I mean? If I feel bad about doing that, there's no way I could, like, rank everybody from 1 to 30.
And just to be clear, so I see Ben Hewitt's in here. He's the Bucks guy, and I know Clutchinson was in here earlier. Like, you guys are cool. Like, we're not making fun of you guys at all. We're just talking about, like, questionable moves, in our opinion. This has nothing to do with you guys personally. We love you guys.
And honestly, it's like not even like all the moves being questionable. It's like the progression of moves, just like what I don't know. Like honestly, like you can make a bunch of moves that might not even necessarily be bad moves in isolation, but like when you look at the progression of them, it's just like what is the plan here? You know what I mean? That's why I said at the start of this thing, have a plan, have a specific like idea of how you want to build your team. That's why, like, you can maybe criticize Dallas for like maybe giving up a little too much in the trades, but he knew what he wanted to do. Like, he wanted perimeter defenders, went out got Marcus Smart and DeJounte Murray. But wait, hold up. Didn't he trade DeJounte Murray after that?
He tried to. For questionable,
so, like,
questionable trade.
I was giving him props. It's like, okay, he wants perimeter defense. He wants to improve the defense and hopefully, like, keep the shooting and the offense good enough to still be at a pretty high level and then hopefully become a, both sides of the ball type of team and improve that way. Like, okay, he has a plan. Even if you don't necessarily agree with, like, the plan itself, like, at least he has a plan. At least he knows, like, the type of skill sets he wants. So I was, like, giving him props for that. And then he tried to trade DeJounte Murray for I forget who. But it was just like, well, you had a plan. Like what happened to that plan? Like I was, right when I was giving him props for having a plan, he tried to like go back on it, and it was like, I didn't understand that. But no, like New Orleans has made good moves. The Ingles fits in. It's just like he got like too many ball dominant players at that point. Now he has too many wings, so we'll have to see how that plays out. For the Bucks, I thought the Lopez trade wasn't bad. Wasn't as bad as some people thought. I thought the Tice trade was good, which is a trade that I made with him, but it was like Tice in 20 for something in 35. I forget who he traded, but it was like some like non-rotation player or something. Maybe it was like a Wayne Ellington type or something like that. I forget who it was. I think it was Rodney Magruder. Yeah, I think it was Rodney Magruder in 35 for Daniel Tice in 20. That was a really good trade, I thought. And I'm not just saying that because I made the trade with him. I thought that was a good trade. So it's not even necessarily the fact that you guys are making moves. It's the fact that like you'll go and make a good trade for Daniel Tice, and then you'll go and trade him for I forget who for Ish Smith and a second round pick in order to get Derrick Rose. So it's just like that whole thing is like you really want Derrick Rose, you think he fits in with that team, you were willing to trade your center when you needed a center more than a point guard. Like I don't know, that's like where we're basing this off of.
Yeah.
But like that's where we want to hear. Like I want to hear what Ben before we log off. I want to hear Ben like what Ben's logic was for that move. Ben Hewitt. I want to hear what he thinks. He says, I think everyone made way too many trades. Next mock off season will be better. People will get the itch again, and the next mock off season will be just as crazy. Watch.
But we're gonna have certain untouchable players from the start.
Yes, we're gonna have untouchable.
So we have no questions before you even pick your teams. You'll know which players you can trade and stuff like that. So.
Hopefully, you guys will remember this. How this is gonna not just go absolutely insane, like a few of the teams have done. but which I've made like I made 14 trades so far, but all of them are to accomplish something. I have a master plan. I'm a master planner right now.
Ash the Magic haven't done anything in a while, so it's not anything we haven't commented on already.
Yeah, I gotta give props to the guy running Phoenix because he made a couple moves and then like wasn't going crazy and like he's still active. Like I've messaged him about a couple things and it didn't fit his plan, so he declined it. And props to him for not going crazy and kind of not just going crazy and trading half his team because he easily could have. It'd be one thing if like he didn't do much because he wasn't active, but he has been active. He's paid attention and just hasn't found what he's like. So props to let me on, dude. Phoenix.
Well, we'll see. Like he made a trade right away, and then got some value for taking on Barnes and giving up Oubre, and he's sticking to his plan. That's good. He's not then making 15 million trades. Yeah, I kind of like that.
So anyway, we got free agency starting in 15 minutes. I said I was going to wrap up the stream 15 minutes ago. Here we are. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the new channel, make sure you hit that subscription box. I think it's like over here. It's below Eric. Yep, it's down there. So make sure you hit that subscription box. Just so you can stay tuned. Turn on notifications to get notified when the live streams go live. And I'll be trying to ramp up the video content on Blazers Uprise now that we got these separated. I'm feeling more motivation to try and get some videos out there. Make sure you watch the mailbag if you haven't already done so. And with that being said, that's everything I got to plug. So I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys later. Catch me on Discord. I'll be in there tonight. So until next time, peace out. Go Blazers.